It is straight up 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The offensive coordinator carousel churning in the NFL. Two moves announced today. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers parting ways with offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, and the Baltimore Ravens parting ways with offensive coordinator Greg Roman, who is stepping down. If you include the head coaching openings that will likely hire a new OC, that would make 13 open offensive coordinator positions across the league, of course, including the Tennessee Titans, who are going across the pond in the 2023 season. Announced this morning, the Titans are a designated team to play in London in 2023. That's along with the Bills and the Jaguars. Titans will be playing in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with the opponent and the date still to be determined. Coming up tonight, the Nashville Predators are back on the road after going 2-0 in their homestand, most recently a win over the Columbus Blue Jackets earlier this week. They'll be taking on the St. Louis Blues tonight in St. Louis, a 7 p.m. puck drop. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5. So what's going on, everybody? Let's just start with this.
This is breaking news or something?
Will Tennessee and Lonzo in the Zone TV chat are having this discussion right now.
Are they battling?
Lonzo says, "Good afternoon, guys." Will Tennessee says, "What up, Lonzo?"
Oh, man.
Lonzo says, "Not much." You and Will responds and says, "Playing overseas is a bad omen."
Oh, you're talking
we
about the
are
Titans?
already out of the box today with, I don't like this going overseas, because Titans are going overseas. If you haven't been.
Oh, man. Oh, I want to go.
Announcement.
They're going to London, right? Oh, yeah. I want to go, man. We both work for Titans Radio. I know we going. They forgot us last time.
We sure did get forgot last time.
They forgot us. I'm going to make
Sorry.
sure get on the list.
Wonder how we could get on the list this time.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna make sure I'm going to talk to, I can't talk to the people that's already there, so I'm going to talk to Rand, see if he can get me running up onto that plane.
I need to tell Rand, I'm connected to your dad. I wonder if that would help.
Oh,
I went to the same school as your dad.
Oh, yeah. I talked to some people that definitely know his dad. Yeah, they was with the Jets. Yeah, they definitely know. And said a lot of great things. Great human being, man, there, Rand, as well as his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maurice.
Mo Carthon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, folks, it's not Carthon. It's Carthon.
Carthon. Yeah.
Carthon, not Carthon. Carthon. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very exciting. Tyler says good afternoon to us. Debbie says good afternoon. Lots of people greeting us in the Zone TV chat. We are returning your greeting. Titans are going to go to London in 2023. That dropped at 6 o'clock this morning.
Man.
You had probably ridden your Peloton how far by that time?
Oh, no, and that's what happened. I was on my Peloton, I was riding. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And I just retweeted it, and I was like, well, dang, who are we playing? That was the first thing.
That we don't know.
I was like, oh. And then I'm thinking, oh, man, it looks like the Bills are going, so I'm assuming we play the Bills. Then again, nope, we're not finals. So as soon as then it just disrupted my whole Peloton ride. And I'm like, oh, man, I got to stop and figure this out. And I was like, oh, we don't know who. We're just going. And somebody else is going to Germany, right?
Yep. Games in Germany, too.
That's pretty cool. So at least they know the team. I'm like, well, dang, if they're both going to London there, so there's going to be multiple games over there, just not knowing who the opponents are yet.
The Chiefs and Patriots go to Germany. The Bills, Titans, and Jags go to the UK. Jags playing in Wembley.
Death taxes and the Jags playing in London. Wembley. You can count on that.
Yeah, but London. The Bills, all those teams I listed are going to be the quote-unquote designated home team for those games. So they're not going to be playing each other. So we don't know who the road teams are going to be.
What's nutty is in this new format of everybody has, this extra odd game, 17 games, which Blaine has said all along, they're just going to get to 20. So this is just a speed bump to 18.
20, yeah.
And then once you get to 18, I don't think they'll ever play 19. I think they'll ramp from 18 to 20, right? Yeah. The 17 was a ramp to 18. And they realized, wait a second. Y'all just took 17 games. And we didn't even have to expand the rosters? It's still 53 people? Okay.
No. We'll expand the practice squads, though.
There you go. It's more people to hit. How many times you have padded practice now? 11 in a year?
Oh, my.
Boy, it's going to come in handy for those 11 padded practices.
They bamboozle those ding-dongs.
Ding dong bamboozling.
Oh, man.
Wait a second. So, like 10 more people on the practice squad? Well, yeah, everybody good with that?
Yeah.
For another game.
Mm-hmm.
And here, since we got the other game, here's what we'll do. Within every, what is it, Lucas? Is it 3 or 4 years? Everybody has to go overseas now. I think it's 4. Everybody gets cycled through every 4 years. You got to play Germany and you got to play somewhere overseas.
I guess it'll be 5 for the Titans, right? Because they went in 18.
Okay, so maybe it's 5, but everybody gets cycled through this machine and has to go back. I mean, the Jags always go, but everybody else will go intermittently, but they all have to go at some point, which if you're a fan for those years, the extra game doesn't even do you any good because this is a Titans home game that goes to London.
Oh, so how's that work out? Do they get...
They get 8 home games and 8 road games and 1 in
I didn't even
London.
think about that. So they miss out on a home game.
It's a home game. That's a road game. That's the ultimate road game because
so
it's
here's
on
what
another
happened.
continent.
I know what's going to happen. Then all the 68,000 people get a free trip to London to go support them.
You think you and I will even get to go?
Oh, yeah.
Let's
We'll be on
68.
that trip with 68,000 people.
You
man.
think they can
There's
sneak
no
us
way
in?
I will get on that plane myself. And then, and then they'll OBJ me.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Hey, can we escort you off here? Are you asleep or awake? We just don't know. You're not buckled up. Can you get off the plane? Oh, man. So, no, this is exciting, though. I mean, I'm seriously considering going, man. I got time to plan it all out.
Just got to find out when it is. When they drop the schedule, guys? May? When does the schedule get dropped?
Oh, man. I keep saying I want to go to London and do the touristy thing, you know. So I feel like, why not do that and get to see the Titans? And get to, do Titans radio. Oh, I think that's the perfect plan. Now I got to just talk my wife into it once I figure out the date. I can't go by myself because she been, when we going to go to London? I want to go. I want to go all over there, and I want to do the tours. I'm like, yeah, I want to go too. So I'm gonna try to go this time.
Be like Tom Cruise on the wing of the airplane.
Oh,
Mission Impossible.
Oh man, and I have a straight fear of heights too. So wing of a plane is not up my alley. Like Tom Cruise, man, they've shown him doing all his stunts and everything for these movies. I am just like, oh my God, this guy's a daredevil. He loves that stuff. Oh, man, I'd be so frightened. Yeah, I can't even do it. I can't even jump out of a plane and just, with somebody strapped to me and that knows what they're doing. I can't do it. No way. Mm-mm.
See, I'm just not seeking that kind of thrill. I don't need to check that off my bucket list. My bucket's fine.
Yeah,
my bucket's got some good stuff in it.
I know some people do it just to, kind of give over a hump of a fear of doing something else, like, open up a business or whatever it may be. But I do not have that fear. My fear
You'd be fine
is,
opening the business. How you don't have to jump
I can't. No. And I don't know what happened, man. I can't even go to the tower. I can't do anything. That thing start moving. I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling lightheaded.
So you're not going up to Big Ben in London?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to be in a secure area.
Have you ever been?
I'm not gonna be walking outside around on the little, the rail they have going around. No, I have to stay inside. I say bye, honey.
Have you guys ever been to St. Louis Arch?
Yeah, I've been there. I went there multiple times. I've been there numerous times. Now, at that point in time, I wasn't scared.
Would you do that now?
That one be a tough. Only thing would help me is because I did it so many times as a kid.
Me too.
That was the thing. We'd drive from Indianapolis to St. Louis, get in the Ark, go up there, and then up to the top. And then I used to look out and be like, "Whoa, man, this is kind of crazy." But no, I don't think I would do it now. Back then, though, yeah, I'm a kid. I think
Lucas,
10, 12.
In eighth
15.
grade. In eighth grade, we're on a
You
field
went there?
trip. Yeah, I went to the Arch.
Oh, okay.
The worst part about it, and you nailed it, was that teeny tiny little train car that takes you to the top that holds 5 people that's made for 3 normal sized people, and you're in there for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's like you said,
It's like a broken train.
boy, that I swear I was in there once when I was a kid and somebody broke wind.
Oh
no.
No, nobody broke wind. They farted.
I wanted out of there so bad. But there's not like a cord you can pull, stop this thing, let me out. There's no way to get out. I mean, you're in there.
Is that the highest point that you've ever been? Like the highest altitude, you think?
No, I've been in the Sears Tower.
Yeah, I've been to the Sears Tower.
I was in.
Yeah.
I actually have a picture from me. I was in the World Trade Center, and in the Windows of the World restaurant, which is in one of the two towers, and it says no photos. And I walked over with my camera and took a picture out the window. And
How old are you?
In my probably around 30, and they threw me out of the restaurant for taking the picture.
God.
But somewhere in my underwear drawer, I have, because I just throw everything in there for years.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like 2 old wallets in there. I've got like my A-State championship rings. My underwear drawer is my storage container along with my underwear. I have a picture.
That's good information to know.
In case you ever need anything from me, if I die, you like just go look in his underwear drawer. But I have pictures that I took in and around the World Trade Center.
So that's the highest point you think you've been. The World Trade Center.
I've done that over the last 10 years, and I was frightened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was frightened. I was cool going up, and once I got up there, but then just going out, no, I could not do it. I was literally shaking. I tried to go out the door, and I'll see everybody else sitting. I couldn't do it. And then I could see that it was swaying a little. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
my,
Oh, yeah.
this is not good.
Oh, they tell you the
Started
arch
getting real
sways.
lightheaded. My knees start buckling. I was like, oh my, this is horrible. This is weird. When did this happen? I don't know what happened. It just all of a sudden, and after that, I went and got my ears checked, all kind of crap. I thought it was something. I like swimming. I was like, maybe I got too much water in my ears or something. I don't know. People, I don't know what happened. I'm still that way. Ain't nothing changed. It just happened out of nowhere.
Okay. I got vertigo out of nowhere.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it may be,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. Like, I can go in a high hotel indoors.
Mhm.
I cannot look over the rail down.
Oh.
I cannot.
Okay.
I'll like literally have my hand on the wall, just dragging my hand on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where it's got to. Or if I see, like my son used to be when he was younger, out on the balcony, and we're up high in a hotel. Hey, get back away from that rail, because I won't go out there. Yeah, it got to that real bad.
So, Lucas, you were asking me,
So
like,
when you go to London, since that's what we were talking about, make sure it goes to.
we will not take Blaine to Big Ben. We'll
Well,
see it
maybe you
from the
should take me
ground.
just to see,
See how well you
some good laughs.
progressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So so if I've been in the Sears Tower, I've been in the Arch, I've been in the World Trade Center.
I've been in all those too. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what would be taller, because you're asking me, is that's the tallest place? I think those are the tallest places, right?
Yeah. I mean, unless you're like a hiker, like a mountain.
Well, I mean, I've been skiing in Colorado a bunch of times.
Maybe that's taller. I wouldn't know. I'm not sure.
I've been skiing right in Colorado though.
All right. Well, we skied through this first segment. Here's what we'll do. Chelsa Messinger is going to join us. Several people said in the Zone TV chat there may be an issue with the radio signal. So we'll have our experts look into that. We are not
We too high.
Maybe so. Maybe the tower's not high enough. I don't know. We'll try to find out what's going on with that so we can pass it along. So if you are listening and can hear us on any medium, we appreciate it. And we'll be back with Chelsa Messinger next. Tell you how to make some money this NFL weekend. Blaine and Mickey 1045 The Zone. Chelsa Messinger joins us now, host of the Daily Tip at Chelsa Messinger. So we got into this, I don't know, non-sports discussion. We were talking about going up in the St. Louis Arch, and then we got to talking about the
Well, we're talking about going to London first.
We're talking about going to London, and we're hoping that happens.
Titans.
And if so, you can go too. We'll just all go over there, and we'll do radio shows and have a good time. But Chelsea, we got to talking. What's the tallest building that you've ever been in? So we know you live in a tall building because we've talked about it. What's the tallest building you've ever been in?
Ooh, tallest building.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've been in that one in Chicago, because we lived in Chicago for like a short bit. Apparently it wasn't memorable if I have been up in it, but I don't know. I guess the building I live in, or the 505 next door, that one's pretty tall. Was it 40 floors? So yeah, this is not the question I expected to be asked going into this interview for sure.
St. Louis Arch. You've been in the Arch?
You got to expect curveballs.
I have
with
not.
us.
No arch.
What?
Okay. Well, we got to make sure that we'll have to get that cured. You need the uncomfortable experience of riding to the top of the
Gotta
arch
get around
in a
Chelsea.
4x4 cabin with 4 other people. It's
Well,
a really
I have hiked the top of a really tall mountain because we used to live out
okay.
west. So
Okay.
I've done some of those big ones like in Denver and close to Lake Tahoe. So I've done hiking, just not in like the tall buildings.
all right.
Oh, okay.
I got like 30 feet of snow out there right now or something crazy. No hiking going on right now. All right. Before we even get into this week's questions, how did last week's giant teaser work out for you that you outlined the whole thing for us through multiple games? How did that work out for you?
Oh, the first 3 legs were beautiful. 2 of the underdogs hit out right, but then Tom Brady and the Bucks just came through and kicked it in the crotch. So thanks for nothing, Tom Brady. I had my teaser one fully. The Jags clearly covered. They won that game outright. The Giants clearly covered. They won that game outright. And the Bengals covered as well. So Tom Brady, we're not friends anymore.
So what do you think happens with TB12? Is what you saw enough to make you think, like, that's it for that dude? He's going to just go on and move into the next phase of his career?
Well, here's the thing. You can't think like a normal person. So anything that a normal, common sense person would think, that's not Tom Brady. There's a reason he is the greatest of all time, because he is a ferocious competitor and everything gets under his skin. It's like Michael Jordan taking everything personally. So I don't see that being his last game. Even if it's a disaster to watch, I don't think he can stomach living with that last game for the rest of his life. So I think he will try his hand at something. I don't know if it's going to be pretty, but I do think he at least gives it one more go.
So for people who don't know, you're a Gallatin native. You're from Middle Tennessee. You live here now. Do you see wrestle that number 12 away from Mason Kinsey? And, you know, should he be rocking that 12 in a Titans jersey next year? Would you like that?
Yeah. Any odds out on where you're going?
I don't think he'll pick here. If the receivers he has to choose from are both, you know, we have some good rookie receivers, and Shake was good as a tight end, but I think he's going to go somewhere where life is easy, because that's been the pattern. He went from the Patriots to Tampa Bay, where the weather is nice, and he had a ton of receivers. If he can't make it work there, I don't think he can make it work here.
Chelsa Messinger, our guest, host of the Daily Tip. You even hear her updates here on The Zone. She is at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter.
Are there any odds out on where he may end up, or is it too soon to even get into that with
I
Tom
think
Brady?
some books have this, and the
Okay.
Raiders are the favorite. I think it's the Raiders. I think there's a couple other teams in there. I think the New York teams are kind of interesting, especially the Jets, because I think that's a young team. They have a great defense. He wouldn't have to do too much. They have a smart head coach. I think, you know, he could work in that offense maybe, but a lot of it is just going to depend on where he wants to go. The problem is the game film out on Tom Brady right now is not a good, not a good sizzle reel for his skills. So I don't think he's going to necessarily be able to pick where he goes. It's probably going to be somebody who's desperate for, a big name or somebody, and it's looking like the Raiders.
All right, going with Chelsa Messinger from the Daily Tip. I guess tell us a little bit about some of the props that are good for this weekend's NFL divisional playoff games. Are you in players too?
I think a good angle in the postseason is looking for quarterback rushing props, because these numbers that they're putting out on the sports books are based on, the regular season. And as the postseason, comes into the fold, I think these quarterbacks are more willing to risk their health and safety for a first down in the postseason, because it's win or go home. So a quarterback, I think that angle dovetails nicely into just an overall good play. Daniel Jones, quarterback for the New York Giants, he has gone over 42.5 rushing yards, which is the number set over at BetMGM in back-to-back games. Last game, nobody could touch him against the Vikings, and he's gone over 70 rushing yards in back-to-back games. I think Brian Dable would be smart to have some design runs this week against the Eagles. And plus, the Eagles have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Gave up 95 yards to Justin Fields, gave up over 40 to Dak Prescott, and they've given up the fourth most overall yards on the ground to opposing quarterbacks of any team in the NFL. So Daniel Jones over his rushing prop, 42.5 yards.
Oh, wow. With Chelsa Messinger from the Daily Tip. Wow, I was looking for some more props because I was thinking about all the turnovers. I really was referencing the Bills. So are there even turnover props and based off of each individual playoff game?
Yeah, you can bet interception props. And a lot of people were on the interception prop for Dak Prescott last game because he came into that stretch, really terrible. He was turning over the ball a ton, but eventually all trends come to an end, and we saw that against the Bucs. If you're talking about props in that Bills and Bengals game, I think the player to target is Gabe Davis. Big game Gabe. Over his last 3 postseason games, he has 6 touchdowns. Unreal numbers, and a lot of it coming from that Chiefs game last year that went into 4 touchdowns in that. But it looks like he's the guy in the postseason for the Bills, and I think a lot of it's just because the defense probably keys on Stephon Diggs a little bit more, so Gabe Davis maybe gets a few more open looks, but he's been a monster in the postseason. Gabe Davis of the Bills, plus 160 anytime touchdown.
So I know the Bills are favoring this game. Does it impact that I think the Bengals are going to have, I know, 1 offensive lineman, or maybe even 2. How much does that impact, or does it not even factor in at all? The Bills are the better team.
Oh, I think it's made a huge impact because this line opened at 3.5, and now it's all the way at 5.5. So somebody's reading into that, and I think that's probably the reason. Because here's the thing about sports betting. You see these line moves, and you have to play detective, and you say to yourself, okay, why are people hammering the Bills? Or why are the books, trying to limit their volatility or whatever on the Bills? And I think it's because of the offensive line. But the question I have is, I don't know, it still seems like a lot of points. And the Bengals had a terrible offensive line last year, and they still went to the Super Bowl. So I think that game I'm really torn on. That line movement makes me very nervous because clearly the books know something's up. And I do think it's the offensive line.
Speaking of line movement, so what were the game totals over from this past weekend of playoffs? And do you think that factors into this week?
Yeah, we've seen a lot higher totals posted this week. I believe the over was 4-1. I don't have the number in front of me. I think the only game maybe that didn't go over was that Cowboys game. And it's because the kicker missed 4 PATs, and that one stayed under by a half point. So, yeah, you're absolutely spot on that we've seen way more scoring this postseason compared to some of the totals we saw later in the season. I'm not sure what it is. One of the totals I think may be worth a look is the Giants and the Eagles, simply because the Eagles scored 48 points by themselves in the last meaningful matchup against the Giants, the one back in November, maybe it was November, where they beat them 48-22. The Eagles' offense is good. They've had extra time to prepare, and so I think we see a lot of points in that one. Giants should be able to contribute as well with Daniel Jones being really hard to stop on the ground.
So you're saying Eagles in the win?
I think so, but this week's really tough because I think it's a lot of people pitting their gut against what we actually see by the numbers and metrics, because the public is absolutely hammering the Giants 7.5, and it's a number where it makes it a little tricky. It's almost like they're begging you to take the Giants over that key number of 7. But like I said, the Eagles were totally dominant in the only matchup that mattered, and plus they got an extra week of rest, which is really important for a team that was dealing with some injuries. So I think I'm going to pass on that game.
Going with Chelsa Messinger from the Daily Tip.
Chelsea, you got any kicker props on the Cowboys this week? Missed extra point props or anything? What in the world? Have you ever seen anything like that? Well, besides the Titans kicking as a whole, 2 seasons ago now? But it was a disaster. Any kicking props?
Wasn't there a game against the Bills where the Titans missed like a bunch of field goals? Do you remember that game?
There was two
It was
seasons where they missed a bunch of everything.
I remember a Bills game specifically that was very frustrating to watch, and I think Taylor Lewan was like talking trash at the other guy too. It was a really frustrating game, but I don't think I'm betting anything in the kicking world when it comes to the Cowboys. But I do think that could be a really interesting game because what are we going to get from the Cowboys? I think they're almost like a boyfriend that has a ton of red flags that, you know, at the top of their potential on paper could be an amazing boyfriend, but red flag number one. Their coach is not somebody I want to trust when it's down to clutch time situations and time management. Mike McCarthy, no thanks. I don't want to trust that guy. And also their kicking situation. How do you bet on a team that just missed 4 PATs? But here's the thing. When they're at their best, the Cowboys on paper are a good, solid, all-around team with a great defense. And plus the 49ers, what's the best defense they've faced? The Chargers? Because they've played a healthy diet of the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Raiders. So I think this is going to be the toughest test that we see from Brock Purdy. You know, he's been great. He's been amazing. He's been everything they've asked for. But I don't think he's had a defensive matchup like this. I think maybe the under in that game is worth a look as well. So I'm leaning towards the points in the Cowboys plus 3.5, but I absolutely hate the Cowboys, so maybe I shouldn't.
Any props you like? Christian McCaffrey, there's got to be something attached to him you like. He's been balling.
Yeah, here's a trend. Playing anytime touchdowns for running backs who can also catch passes out of the backfield because there's 2 ways they can get in the end zone. And we've seen it from Christian McCaffrey. He's had a touchdown in 6 straight games. So anytime touchdown for Christian McCaffrey, why would they go off of him now? He's such a dynamic threat. And you can kind of apply that to just about any pass-catching running back. I usually think they're solid plays for anytime touchdown. So Christian McCaffrey is my favorite anytime touchdown play. It is a little juicy at minus 150, though.
Well, there you go. We're talking with our favorite Vegas person, Chelsa Messinger, at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter, host of The Daily Tip.
Well, you got any handicaps for this weekend? Is that how it works?
Any handicaps? What do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, handicap. Well, that's what they usually do in, I guess, the gambling world. I'm trying to learn how that all works myself.
Well, it is a word that we use.
Oh.
I'm trying to think if there's a game we haven't talked about.
Yeah, well, of
too
course.
soon to talk about the
Jags and KC.
The Jags plus 8.5. I think this is a case in which you don't want to trust Patrick Mahomes covering a big number because it hasn't been the case over the past 3 years. Patrick Mahomes over the last 3 years against the spread is covering only at a 38% clip, 11 and 18 against the spread. He's not been good at covering these big numbers, and we've seen it. The Chiefs play with their food. Do you remember that ring around the rosy situation? That's one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. So, no, I don't think I want to trust the Chiefs to cover the 8.5. So, I'll go with the Jags getting the points.
Oh, the Jags. Wow. Oh, man, I think that the Chiefs going to get them by 10 or more. That's a bad bet for me,
we'll
huh?
Go head to head.
Oh, my. I'm going to lose all my money, huh?
We'll see. It's totally possible if anybody can pour it on because I think the sabotage factor for the Jags is that Andy Reid is usually a pretty solid coach when he has extra time to prepare. But I don't know. A lot of it depends on Trevor Lawrence. I think when you have a young quarterback, it's kind of a volatile situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a great showing from him, and maybe you get 4 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, this is why I do not gamble. But lastly, I guess a prop. I don't even know if you have this on the books yet. Who's the leader for the Colts head coaching job?
This is not a market that I have looked at.
Yeah,
I
was curious just because that's the Titans is a big opponent and naturally in the AFC South. So a lot of people are, they having all these different interviews of DCs, OCs, and then a lot of people say, but Saturday's still on the list. Like, he's got a great shot of getting the job. I'm like, well, dang.
Yeah, I think it's more who the quarterback is. The Titans fans need to worry about because honestly, I thought Frank Reich was a fine head coach. I don't think it was necessarily all on him. I think it was more just Matt Ryan throwing a ton of interceptions. So I think what you need to stay tuned to is who's playing quarterback for the Colts.
Gotcha. There you go. Chelsa Messinger.
Hey, Chelsea, on the way out, the Titans are scheduled now to play in overseas next year in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They're going to be one of the teams that travel next year. Do you look at those European games any differently when you're looking at overs or unders or any point totals, anything like that, because of all the travel? Do those long trips affect how you look at games?
Yeah, I think it makes them kind of wonky because there's just so many factors that are a little bit different. Last year we saw a lot of wonky games that maybe weren't so wonky as the season unfolded because I remember I liked the Seahawks getting points. That one didn't come through. The Bucs actually showed up for that one. And the Giants beat the Packers outright as like 7-point underdogs, I believe. The Giants turned out to be a good team. So I don't know. Those are games that I just pick another game just because I don't know. It just, I don't like when there's other things that I can't control, the team can't control, and it's just a little different.
I got you. Chelsa Messinger, all right, let people know all the places they can consume the Daily Tip. And, of course, they hear you on our show and they hear your updates here on The Zone, but let them know where they can catch you every day.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Chelsa Messinger. I usually post my plays daily, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. And also, if you want to listen to the podcast, just search the Daily Tip wherever you get your podcast. And as always, thanks for having me on.
Yes, ma'am. The one and only
Appreciate
Chelsa
it.
Messinger, our guest. She joins us same time every week. All right, as we say goodbye to Chelsa, let's do this. Let's say hello to John in Nashville because he called in the last segment on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. And here just talking about the tallest places we'd ever been in.
Yes.
So John wants to weigh in on this. So let's finish up with a call from John. Hello, John.
Hey, bud. Thanks for taking the call. That was good to listen to Chelsa. One of the buildings that I recall, this was back in the 80s. It used to be Canadian Telephone Company Towers. And I forget how many feet, stories it was. It was just way up there. But the coolest thing was, once you open the elevator, you walk right out, and all you see is the sky. But the other, it's on a glass floor, so you can see how far down you have just come. And I took one of my guys that worked for me, and I was not aware that he was fear of heights. We opened that door, and I jumped out there. It was, heights don't bother me at all. He was glued to the wall.
Yeah.
He was just like you. He was a painting on
relate.
that wall. And so I looked around, and he did not move. We got back in the elevator. He went to the furthest corner of that elevator that he could and looked straight down at his feet till we got to the floor. But it used to be, like I said, that one of the tallest buildings in North America. But the cool thing was that big old floor.
Ooh. Appreciate the phone call, John.
Man, yeah. And being no towers. At least not outside in the tower. I can go inside the tower. But yeah.
So if you're,
that.
let's say you were just in a restaurant or in a hotel room or whatever, you're way up there. You can go look out the window and you're fine.
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
But
I just
somebody's
can't
like,
go
"Hey,
out on
open the door here. Come out and look at the view on the deck with me."
Yeah, I have to stay. Wait, so we'll go to some of these rooftop places here in Nashville. They're up high, right?
Yeah.
And so you can go out on the balcony there, and but it's a wide landing, like it's huge, like a restaurant area where you can stand. I just can't go to the side and look down. I was stood at the door, just stepping in there and walked around out there. But then when I look at the other buildings, I start getting a little woozy, and I go, oh, I gotta go sit down, or I gotta go back inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you not even just going to the rail and looking down. You don't
No,
need to be
I
looking,
can't do.
looking out at the city or anything. That'll get you.
No. Yeah.
Okay. Don't invite the hitman to a rooftop
The
party.
hitman may have been hit one too many times.
Oh, man.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's that, man, because I don't know how it just started happening. Literally like 10 years ago, out of nowhere.
Man, I'm glad I'm young and things like that haven't affected me yet. All right. A quarterback put something on Instagram, and some of you want to talk about it. Some of you don't. It's a 49ers current quarterback, and his old player personnel director is here now. But I want to bring up another aspect. I want to bring up another aspect of that. I know that it happened, and some of you think he's just it's the peace sign or it's the fingers crossed sign. Some of you saying, well, that just means he's telling him good luck. And other people saying that means, please take me with you. And I can remember you'd say, well, I'm lying, but if I lie with my fingers crossed behind my back, it's not a lie. That's another one. There's multiple meanings for this. But there is something that I just want people to think about. And Blaine has even another layer to that involves a certain draft pick. And we'll explain it all next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Jay Giles once said love stinks. But talking about the Titans doesn't. And we're going to talk about the Titans. Now, Rhett Bryan is coming in the studio. We have the door open because it's so hot in here. Yeah, and so people walk by and like, hey, what are you guys doing? So more people visit us. We should just leave the door open all the time. It makes people come and talk to us.
He was also, he felt, sorry for us old people and said, I'll come in and help you guys out.
Are you guys sweating in there? I'm going to come and see what's going on.
I'm in the same neighborhood with y'all. What are you talking about? I'm your neighbor in the old man neighborhood.
It was just,
Okay, so I want to ask you about this because some people have totally poo-pooed it, and some people say you're totally misreading it. But Ran Carthon gets the job, and we'll tweet this out in a tweet form of some kind on Blaine and Mickey Twitter. So just keep refreshing. We'll get there. Ran Carthon gets the Titans job. It's widely acknowledged. And then there's an Instagram story from Trey Lance, who was recently a number 1 pick 2 drafts ago. And it's fingers crossed emojis with a picture of Ran Carthon.
I saw that. Yeah.
And so immediately some people say, oh, my gosh, he's trying to come to the Titans. And other people say, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. That means good luck. It became like what emojis mean. I've learned more about, wait, that used to mean this, but this doesn't mean this anymore. I don't want to sound old, but people talk about
that's what Lucas is saying back there right
you
now.
Old coot. You old goat.
We're going to help him. He's going to be the last voice to speak on this, too, to help us out.
So here's Blaine and I've kicked this around a little bit, so he sends me a message yesterday. Here's what I want people to look at. Not what does the fingers crossed emoji mean, or does he even want to be here? None of that stuff. But Blaine sent me a message. He said, I wonder if people will be, just throw that out like it never even happened. Because the Titans truly need to slash salary cap and reload, and they need a different quarterback. Well, they're not in a draft position to get one of the top 2 guys and maybe even a top 3. And they don't have a lot of draft picks stockpiled. It's not like they've got 11 picks in the draft this year. They got 6. So it's not because I'm like, just trade up and get one of the. You would trade away your number 1 pick for like 2 or 3 years to get to number 1.
Capital.
And they just don't have it. They need bodies. They ran out of bodies for 2 years in a row. They ran out of people to play football. So the idea of trade up to 1, which is where you got to go this year, you got to get ahead of the Texans. They don't have enough people to do it. So if you think, well, Lamar's not going anywhere, and you're not going to spend $40 million on your cap for Aaron Rodgers, there's not many realistic scenarios.
Right.
But if you want a young quarterback who recently graded out as a first-round pick, old Mr. Finger crossed emojis, his old boss or one of them is now sitting in the main seat over there. And Blaine's thing was, what if you offered pick number 11 for that dude? I mean, we've only seen a small sample size from him.
He's coming off an injury, but
he's coming off an injury. Only a small sample size of him playing. But forget that he did that or any of Instagram. If you want a younger quarterback, he's 22. He's got 2 years of experience in the NFL. He'll be 23 in May. You guys know what the average age is for the teams that remain in the playoffs right now? The average of the 8 guys still playing quarterback.
Oh,
Dak is by far the oldest. He's 29. He's an outlier.
Oh, so I'm going. When you read, you probably know better. 26.
I'm gonna say 24.
I'm 6. I'm saying 6. 26.
Right between 25.
25. Wow.
So the average guy is 25 years old. Nobody is 30. Nobody is older than 29. And only person even close to Dak is the wizard of all wizards, Mahomes, and he's 27. So if you were like, okay, what if Ran Carthon said, I scouted this dude. I helped put together the package that traded away all the capital to get him.
I know him like few people do.
Mm-hmm. And if you want a guy, he is that dude. Trust me when I say it. Just hasn't gotten his chance. You know, pick number 11 and a 4 next year would do it. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. That's where your quarterback could come from if you think he's that guy. Now, don't get so upset about, we're talking about that he posted stuff on Instagram. Throw all that out. But that
the connect is
connect
Ran
the dots.
Carthon
Yes.
and facilitating a trade for the 11th pick and whatever else collateral you can give up. Maybe it's even a player. I have no idea. You would know better than me. But the reason why I thought of that is because of the golf trade. Once that GM left, assistant GM left, I think his name is Holmes,
Brad
and then
Holmes.
went to Detroit.
Right.
Then that facilitated them helping get the trade with golf. So, so I was just kind of, looking at some of the.
And you could connect dots. I see what you're doing.
And maybe that could help out. And then now you have your franchise quarterback for a long time, even going into the new stadium. And maybe if you don't have to get rid of Tannehill, he still doesn't have to rush him onto the field if he's still injured and if you decide to keep him, because now you're still not paying the backup quarterback a lot. Just giving out scenarios, whether Tannehill's here or not. And if you're going to start, the young quarterback or not, you still have an option. So I've just thought about it and said, let's ask Red. We bring your mastermind behind
your
it.
question. Let's think about it. The most important part of all this, if this was a thing, he's still on a rookie contract,
right? And so you can still build around him.
That's the biggest part of this, because there is where Ran Carthon is going to have to
do his work.
Unintended, hit the ground running, because he and Vin Marino are going to have to talk about what they're going to do with his salary cap.
He's scheduled to make $9 million over the next 2 years total.
Next 2 years.
What a bargain.
Total, $4.5 million per.
But yeah, so I understand.
I'm just saying.
Now, I'm not to say that San Francisco is up to doing that.
Right, because the
they
biggest
still have
X factor
Purdy.
there is, what does John Lynch want for him, because they gave up a lot
They gave up
to
a lot.
get him.
Yeah, they did.
So there's where you would be. But yeah, listen, I saw the Instagram post with the fingers crossed, and I left it to interpretation. I'm like, it could mean good luck. It could mean, hey, bring me with you, whatever you want to, say. But it's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. And what you have already laid out there is a youth movement in the AFC in terms of the playoff picture.
Right.
And when Mahomes and Dak Prescott are the old guys in the room,
that's crazy.
In this, that is absolutely bananas.
Well,
29 is the oldest guy by far in the whole playoffs.
You also have to look at it from an AFC perspective. You got Mahomes, you got Allen, you got Lamar Jackson. I mean, Trevor Lawrence within your own division.
Right.
So the list is starting to get where, like, we may need to start making our move sooner than later, even if it doesn't benefit us this year, because we're never going to be in a position unless we give up a lot of collateral to move up. Like, let's just say you stick with Tannehill and you try to kick the can down the road one more year, okay? Well, guess what? You're going to be somewhat where you're at now. You may be reversed. You may be 10-7 or 11-4. You're still not going to get a high pick. Mm-hmm. And then now, for sure, you're done with Tannehill. See? So that's why I keep saying you need to move forward now instead of waiting. And I get it, because you want to get fans in stands and everything else. But when are you going to address it? Because it's going to come up and it's going to hit you right on the backside real quick.
Here's the other part of your question, hypothetically, is because of them being over the cap in the new fiscal year in March, would Ran Carthon, who has, by all indications, been heavily involved in trade processes and free agent acquisitions, in addition to late-day draft picks, which he's done real well at, are there guys on this roster he would trade away to get capital to do what he needs to do? And I'm not saying, trade Derrick Henry, because you're going to get a number one. You're not going to get a number one for Derrick Henry.
Right.
No.
But I'm just, while we're going down hypothetical lane, I'm just thinking about this stuff.
I completely agree with that. That's why I said nothing would be off the table. I know to some people, here's what happens when you're a GM, and I love these players too, just like the fans. But nobody's off the table if I can get collateral, and a lot of collateral. Here's why I say that, because I'm talking about Big Jeff. I think he has the most value of anybody on the team. Do I want him to leave? Do I want to give him a contract and extend him? Absolutely. But if I can get a 1 and a 3 or a 1 and a for Big Jeff, I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? I wish we could keep you, but we have to move forward. This is the best for the team. See, that's what I'm talking about, and you have to separate. And good that he's coming from outside, Ran, because he's going to have that kind of perspective as much as he respects Jeff, and you can't help it when you turn on the tape.
It wasn't his pick, so
right.
There's no sentimental value there.
Mm-hmm. But he is he's a unicorn now.
Would burn to the ground, I think, because they traded Big Jeff away. We would live to tell about it, whatever would happen.
And people would say, oh, that's insane. But at the same time, if you're rebuilding, retooling to a certain extent, and you need collateral, and you must, help with the salary cap, and then if you don't want to pay him what he's asking for, I don't know what he's asking for, but he's going to be in the $20 million range per year. Mm-hmm. Are you ready to make that kind of sacrifice? before you even cut the cost of salary cap issues that you're at. Right. So whether that's Henry, Tannehill, anybody of value that's a veteran, Kevin Byard, that's a veteran on a big number on their contract. So I just
see,
think
that's the thing is, people have been asking me, it's like, what's the first thing he does? I'm like, the first thing he's got to do is sit down with Vin Marino and go over the salary cap stuff, which, that's a part of the interview process. He had to bring all that and say, here's the plan. I have spreadsheets. I have a PowerPoint presentation, whatever. So we know that's an issue, and we know that comes before the draft, and all that goes with it. But there you are.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to get out of here. Lucas is yelling at us in our headphones, telling us we got to take
his fingers were crossed.
Break!
All right, we'll take a commercial. Let's pick this up on the other side, though. What would you trade pick 11 for Trey Lance? Do you think the Titans need a younger quarterback? That is a way that they could do it. And if anybody knows what the 49ers would take for him, it's a guy who just left the 49ers. We'll be right back. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up to you? Happy Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us. We say goodbye to Rhett Bryan. He heads down into the cooler hallway as we talk to you from the warm spaces of the studio.
We're in a sauna.
So
we still want to get some clarity though from Lucas and the Young Bucks, him and Robert, on what Trey Lance was talking about. It was
fingers
like us
crossed
talking
emojis.
to our children here and kind of tell us to keep us up to date and keep us informed on what the fingers crossed really means, because we're old school, so we may interpret it different than the new school.
Well, first I will say I am largely just as in the dark as you guys when it comes to emojis and stuff like that.
Oh.
Like I don't tick the talk, or I don't get into all that.
But then how are you going to help out our show then? Bye.
I know, I'm trying. but growing up, same for me. Like fingers crossed was like, fingers crossed, like I hope it happens type of thing. Or it's, fingers crossed behind your back, when you're saying something. Yeah. But if you go into your keyboard and your emoji keyboard and you search emojis and you just type the words good luck, the fingers crossed emoji is one of the first things that comes up. So in my mind, Trey Lance just typed good luck into his keyboard, hit a couple of those emojis, and threw it up there on his Instagram story. That's how it happened for me.
Okay. All right. So it was just good luck.
Say just
my
some
guy.
logic there, right? Just
I
good
wonder,
luck.
does that mean
Nothing more to me.
Watch this. Watch this. Did he do it to John Lynch? Did he do it? I mean, the reason why I say that, I know Lynch didn't leave, but I guess good luck in that this guy was the main or one of the main pieces to why he was there.
Maybe just a relationship, Like
Okay.
it could be just
Cool,
as
it
simple
could
as
be.
that.
You're right. See, that's what I hate. We reading too much into it. I don't know.
Well, and that's why my thing was, like, I see it. I know it can be interpreted in
Probably
different
nothing.
ways. But what it did was make me think. And then Blaine put it in a question, a format that I never thought of. Was like, okay, would you trade pick 11 for this guy? Now, they switched first rounders, and then they also traded 2 more firsts and I think a third to get him.
Oh, no. They're going to ask for more than the first then.
So that's what they traded to get him a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 firsts. So some people said 3, but you switch places in the first round. So it's 2 other firsts and a third, I think, is what they traded to get him.
Dang.
But my question became this. So here's
Or we could switch it and reverse it around.
throw it down, flip it in reverse.
Yeah, and go with Purdy.
I don't think they would let that dude go. Y'all were talking about that dude the other day. Like, well, if he wins another game, wins Super Bowl, unless he goes out and makes the biggest stinky diaper since my son one night when he slept all night, the next morning, unless his lays a stinkier diaper than that, unless he goes and throws 3 picks in a game and they lose, it's already his job, I think.
So, okay, so a good performance by Purdy and a loss still is enough for you to say he should be the favorite as the starter next season.
See, remember I asked this the other day. I think he has to win the Super Bowl for him for him to be the starter next year.
I said
if he hiccups.
I said get them to the Super Bowl, and he has to be your guy in my mind.
Yeah.
I think if they lose and he plays well, he's already earned it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I don't think so. If they stick with those guys, and now they have some time because Trey Lance is injured, but here's what the NFL does. They look at the upside and just Trey Lance, as much as he is behind him as a quarterback right now, the upside is way higher than Brock Purdy can be. And it's unfortunate because that doesn't mean he's a better player.
Yeah.
But that's why you go in the first round. It's the potential of the upside, not the actual play. And that really irritates me. I'm a late round pick, just like Purdy. And I'm cheering him on. And he has that fight, that grit, the knowledge, all the little nuances. Why did he go last pick? Because of his measurables. His size. That was it. It had nothing to do with his performance. When you go and do what he's doing, granted, he has great pieces around him. You still got to go do it.
Yep.
Still got to go do it. He's doing it like it's easy. Like, oh, dang. Lucas could play quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, or some solid quarterback. When that's not the case. And then the way he's doing it and just the passion and then the way the players are around him and just he gravitate. I mean, man, because if they don't, they have to, me in my mind, I know it's going to sound crazy, they have to get rid of one of them. Because then it's always going to be a controversy over when one guy has a bad game, should you put the other guy in? Whether that's Purdy or Trey Lance. It's just going to always be a debate. And so, whatever way you want to go after Purdy, or I don't think he will have as much value. They may never trade Trey Lance because of what you just went over, of what they did to get him to move up.
If they did behind the scenes say, Purdy's the guys all believe in him. The guys believe in him. He's their guy. He's the locker room's guy.
Mm-hmm.
We lose the locker room if we no, we'll go there. We lose. Okay.
Yeah.
If we were ever going to hope no one noticed, it would be they win another game. They get to the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody would care what they did with Trey Lance. They make it to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying play well and lose. Go Lucas's scenario.
Right.
If they made it to the Super Bowl with this dude, I think they could do anything they wanted to with Trey Lance. Because people be like, it's like they'd have such a distraction of the Super Bowl, they could slip Lance out on the loading dock and just have somebody come and pick him up at that point.
Well, he's still cheap on the cap, so
both of them are cheap. They could keep both of them for nothing.
And that would probably be the smarter play based off of reason why I say that.
They
had two quarterbacks go down this season.
Yeah.
And imagine if that happened again, and then now you traded a piece away, and you don't get what you want from them as far as capital. So, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to trump what they got when they moved up to get Trey Lance. That's a lot.
There's no way they can get. I think that's just they'd have to accept some diminished returns. Like, okay, we're not going to get that for him, but what could we get for him? So that's when you said, I wonder if people would be, what Titans fans would think, trade pick 11 for that guy. I mean, just a clean 11 for that guy, and maybe a fourth rounder next year.
Because I don't understand
some other window dressing.
Capital is
you mentioned maybe a player to be included.
Yeah,
in that.
Even a player. If that, another veteran player that's proven, whatever position that could be. So I don't know. I think it's interesting because reason why it made me think about all of this is I just don't think the Titans are ever going to be in a position as far as draft position to draft their franchise quarterback. I think they're always going. If you stick with Tannehill, they're going to be middling to 10, 7, 11, whatever. Even they're going to be better than they are this year if he stays healthy. So I'm thinking, my man, we're still going to have to move up at some point to get the franchise quarterback. So when are you going to decide to make that move? That's why I keep going into the let's start the rebuild. I know a lot of people it's a loosely used term, but to me, that's part of this. And my whole goal is in 3 years, my franchise quarterback going to have all the welts that he needs. And then when we open that stadium, we are ready to rock and roll and all the pieces are going to be in place. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. It may have to go through a middle of the road or maybe even a bad season initially, but I'm willing to take that risk if I know down the road that we're getting everything together and it's going to be something special. You got to believe that once you make that move.
Well, DK tweeted me and said, so what's the argument against Bryce Young? It's that he's 6'0", measurables? I mean, that would be the argument against him, the fact that he's been hurt already and the fact that he's little.
But why are we bringing up – we're not going to be able to get Bryce Young.
I think he's talking about, to get somebody. Well, they don't have draft capital to trade up to get Bryce Young.
Right, yeah.
We're not talking about Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean, he's the and that's what they're saying about him. Oh, he's compared maybe because I said Purdy. Well, Purdy didn't play for Alabama. Let's start there. He's not magical. He's not Bryce Young is magical. He's like a point guard playing quarterback. The things that he does with his size is really fascinating to me. Now, the only question, because he can make every throw, the only question the NFL is going to ask is, man, he's slight of build. Is he going to be durable for the NFL? We're not talking about him running around when he throws the football and he gets hit. And that happens more often than most people even pay attention because they're just following the ball. Mm-hmm. Will his body be able to hold up when he's 6 feet into the collar or the streaming here? Yeah, I just don't know if he can. But he's still going to be the number one prospect to me. He's still going to be the first quarterback taken. He's going to be the first pick. He's just done too much at a high level at a big time university. It's going to be hard to. They're just going to say this guy's different.
Yeah.
Then now he has to go and do it. Can he stay durable? Everything else to me, he checks the boxes. Purdy is not that guy. He's not magical like that. He's around a system. And imagine Tannehill. Tannehill could look just as good as Purdy in that system with those players. I mean, you want me to go name them? Debo, Kittles, Their running game, McCaffrey. Oh, by the way, their offensive line. Oh, great defense. I mean, dude, that's why they have one of the best rosters. That's why we up here hiring Ran Carthon. I mean, this is the reason why. He was part of this whole process. So, the Titans have nothing like that. So, I think Bryce Young doesn't need all of that initially, and we could, still be halfway decent. I wish we could get him. Oh, man, this stadium would be packed every week just to go see him. But that's not happening.
All right, this segment has been packed with talk. Open phone lines. We got no more guests for the rest of today. So you could be our guest, 615-737-1045. Where are you on this? Roll with Tannehill? I've seen a Josh Dobbs mention already today in the Zone TV chat.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the freest of free agents. Do you think that you've seen enough from Malik Willis? And you say, hey, man, you drafted him, roll with him. Love to hear your thought on this.
That's Alex English.
London calling for the Tennessee Titans. Headed back this year. Don't know who the opponent will be, but they are going back overseas to play a football game in 2023. That announcement dropped at about 6:01 this morning. Blaine and Mickey right here hanging out with you. So we're having a little fun. If you were the Titans and you thought, we got to get younger at quarterback, that's what we got to do. Probably don't have enough draft capital to get, inside. Well, you'd need to be number one to get anybody you wanted. So Blaine throws out the question. I mean, you got the 49ers ex-director of player and pro personnel. I think he was both of those at one time. Maybe he knows something about Trey Lance. Would you trade 11 for Trey Lance? And yes, we know about the Instagram thing, but this is more of just jogged our thoughts. Like, oh, he was a first-round pick 2 years ago. You can't get up in the draft. You're not going to get Lamar Jackson. You're not going to get you don't have enough money for most of the big-ticket guys, whoever they might be. This would be an economical way to do it. Trey Lance is only owed $9 million combined over the next 2 years on his rookie deal. So would you trade 11 for him? We got a question out on Blaine and Mickey. We'll update you on those poll results. Curtis and Doug are the first who want to weigh in on this. You could be next, 615-737-1045 on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Curtis, thanks for calling.
Hey, yeah, guys, thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. And right before the break, you kind of mentioned Bryce Young, and what that might bring in. Honestly, size is what scares me so much about him, especially if we're talking about giving up a number 11 pick for a offensive line position that we really need greatly more than him. If he was a little bit bigger, I wouldn't be as hesitant. But they list him at 6 feet. So Blaine, in the NFL, when someone's 6 feet, right, that probably means he's 5'10",
Yeah, 5'10",
and 195 pounds. I mean, you can put some size on him, but that's still a little bit too small. And unless we get an impenetrable force at offensive line, I think that would just scare me way too much.
Well, we were just I think a streamer here mentioned Bryce Young. I don't think they'll be able to move up that high to get Bryce Young. I still like his talent. I still think he'll be the number one pick. He's just kind of a special small guy. In the league, depending on what offense he goes to, we can talk about Kyler Murray and that group of quarterbacks that are smaller. That's kind of not being looked at upon as much as before. Now, I think Kyler Murray is built a little bit different than Young, who's a little more slighter build. So that I think it's still going to be an issue until he proves that it's not. But I think they're going to like everything else about him, whether it's his play, his arm. So we'll see how much that works against him. But it will. It will, but maybe not enough. Sometimes talent outrules, and sometimes there are exceptions to the rule. So that's what you have to determine if you're, with that number one pick, or now number two. I think Chicago's number one. And
Chicago's number one. Texans are number two.
Yeah. So I would assume he's going to the Texans. But I could be wrong, or somebody could move up in Chicago, use it for bait to get some more picks.
So the quarterbacks are rated. I went to the CBS page and literally printed them. So I have them written right here in front of me. The CBS quarterback draft rankings. Bryce Young is the top quarterback. 6 foot 194 is what he's listed at, which means he literally is probably neither of those right now. I think that's. I've seen what I was listed at in programs, and I know that it was a lie. So 6 foot 194. C.J. Stroud is the next guy. So maybe the Texans will probably be the first team to take a quarterback. So maybe they like C.J. Stroud better than Bryce Young. C.J. Stroud 6'3", 218, out of Ohio State, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The next guy on CBS's board is Will Levis. You think Will Levis makes it to 11? Does Will Levis do it for you? Now, his arm-wise, it's amazing what that guy can do.
I don't think he makes it 11. I think the Colts, it looked like a Colts guy.
So he's full-sized. He's 6'3", 232, same as your measurements when you played. And then they have the fourth-ranked guy who's 19th overall for them is Anthony Richardson. And I'm just saying if the Titans are like, we'll just draft a quarterback this year. So maybe Anthony Richardson is the first guy you could get at 11.
Probably.
If Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis are all gone, Anthony Richardson. 53.8% completion this year, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Now, you talk about full size, 6'4", 232, and he can run, but he's
big guy, can make the throws. He probably need to work on his accuracy, obviously, with the 58%. So that's what I'm saying. That's why we're only bringing this up, not looking at the quarterback list. When are you going to get your quarterback?
That's it. So
that's why we start talking about Trey Lance, and that'd be something feasible, maybe with the connection of Ran Carthon. So I just don't think the Titans are going to be able to draft a quarterback there at 11. Not what they want. And then next year, if you're looking at it, I like Caleb Williams from USC, but I don't, formerly of Oklahoma. I think he's going to be the number one pick.
Right, and they're not going to lose.
They're not going to lose
16
enough to get
games.
To the pick. Now you got to trade a whole bunch of things, and then I still don't believe you are capable of putting a whole bunch of picks together to move up even next year because you're still trying to build your roster.
Yep.
So I was just trying to formulate a plan to in 3 years or 4 years you have your quarterback, and he's probably starting a couple years before you move into the stadium. And so maybe that's a backdrop to where you are at today. And so what is the short term and what is the long term plan? And because it won't be Tannehill, it won't be Derrick Henry, will not be on the team probably. I'm pretty sure of that when they move into the stadium.
And Blaine is saying it. They're thinking that too. Mm-hmm. Look, if you own a business and we walked into your business and you sold shoes or turkey legs or whatever it was that you sold, microphones, whatever it was, and we looked at you and said, you got a short-term plan? And you're like, yep. We said, have you got a long-term plan? You said, yep. Then we probably feel pretty good about your business. But if we said, you got a short-term plan? You got a long-term plan? No. Your business is probably going to be closed. So, and the fact that part of their business plan is a $2 billion building over there that they're going to play football in, they got to be thinking about it. So for everybody that somebody's like, Mickey, Trey Lance, no. Look, I'm saying anybody, but that is a viable option.
Maybe.
If Ran Carthon believes in him, that would be doable financially for them if he's their guy. Let's get Doug
Doug can still
in.
build their team.
Yep. Doug, what do you think about all this stuff? Thanks for the call. Hey, Doug.
Dougie first.
Yep.
You're on.
What's going on, buddy?
Yeah. So I'm saying that I think it's crazy that they're spending that kind of capital for a quarterback. When was the last time a first-round draft pick quarterback won the Super Bowl? Like, we were all in on Mariota and Jameis Winston. Neither one of them did it. The people who are winning them are, second round, third round. We need an offensive line. It doesn't matter how good the quarterback is. Mm-hmm. If they're sitting behind a crappy offensive line, they don't have wide receivers, they don't have a running back that can support them, they don't have a defense, they're not winning.
No,
Aaron Rodgers has got one ring. Brady's got tons, but it's because he had so much around him.
Right. Well, before you go, hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when are you going to get your quarterback, though? That's really where this discussion started. It wasn't about really this year. It's about when can you get your starting quarterback and a young guy that you can develop, and then that way he's not counting a lot against your cap, and then you can build the pieces around him. Sometimes most teams do it the reverse, which is smarter, getting your offensive line first. But I'm saying you can, do both at the same time. Maybe just in a situation with Ran Carthon having a connection to Trey Lance, and if he thinks he's that dude.
Right, and I don't have a problem with the idea of Trey Lance necessarily, but Purdy, he's not accurate. If you see all those passes and throws that he was making, half those passes, the reason why they were completed was because the wide receivers are phenomenal, catchers. So I'm just saying, as far as like the quarterback right now, I feel like if we stick with what we've got now with Tannehill, he's still good for a year or two. And I feel like there's going to be another quarterback out there, just like we just picked up off of Detroit's practice squad, who, if you have an offensive line, a defense, and receivers, will get you to the Super Bowl. Because that's what it's all about.
Right.
And to spend $50 million a year on a quarterback first-round draft pick or whatever that doesn't do anything.
Right. No, what's the name's cap issue is only $4 million.
Yeah,
Trey Lance.
Doug,
so we're not talking about $50 million or $20 million or $40 million. And by the way, you must find a way to get over the hurdle. I'm going to go through the names. Trey Lance, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. By the way, this is not the whole league. This is just the AFC. And we can go down the list. So you're not going to get over the hurdle until you get your guy. And you can say, oh, we can build it differently. We're going to get a defense is another way to attack this and say we can just get a solid quarterback, somewhat in the Tannehill range, and we'll be able to do it. But guess what? You have to have all the pieces around Tannehill to be able to do that. That means you got to have some firepower, not just a running back. You got to have tight ends. You got to have receivers and the offensive line. And when are you ever going to have all those pieces at the same time? It's just really hard to get. That's why we're up here pulling one of their assistant general managers over to the Titans because they did it, and they've been doing it. So that's really where the discussion goes. Trey Lance I think you said he only counts how much for the cap? Over the next 2 years?
You'd even lose all of his extra stuff because the 49ers, that would accelerate onto their cap. You owe him $9 million total in the next 2 years.
Yeah, and he's a mobile guy, and he's kind of built more durable. He had a freak accident naturally with the ankle dislocation or whatever it was. He got twisted up there, but I don't know how good he is, but this is something kind of a la like the Tannehill deal, just a higher price. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but they got to be thinking long term as well for your franchise quarterback. If not, we'll never be able to get a good quarterback, an elite, a talented one. Maybe able to get a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's going to take more than just good to get by him. And I get it. We got to get the offensive line. Yes, that's a prerequisite. But can't you do half of it now and then maybe sparks a little bit with free agency and the draft and get it right? Matter of fact, how about this? You can draft an offensive lineman every round. Watch this. I'm going to make sure they're all from the SEC.
They're the Big Ten.
Yeah,
hey,
right.
Man.
No doubt. Guys who are hammering, and they some
Yep.
big boys.
Yep,
You're
SEC, right. Big Ten. It's the only place I'm shopping for linemen.
You can get some real athletic ones maybe, from, the West Coast or somewhere. Mm-hmm. Big 12. But, that's kind of what I'm thinking. They have Chig and Burks, but in reality, those guys are really young and they're still limited at this point in time. Well, hopefully Burks can be a number one. Chig is kind of more of a receiver guy. But, just look at Kittle's 5th round pick. Not only is he good at receiving, but he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. Watch him now. Even my man Kelsey doesn't block like him. No. Kittles is the better all-around player.
Stick his nose in there for sure.
Oh, he blocks. And you have to block in that scheme that they play. They run the football.
Yep.
So, it's hit or miss. And these are the decisions the GM and Vrabel are going to have to make now together. So, with picking the player. So, man, it's going to be fascinating to watch.
We said this earlier. The average, and there's no knock on Tannehill. This is just the truth.
We don't know if Trey Lance is durable. You're right.
Don't know.
Nobody is.
But here's the thing. I did the math this morning with a calculator, Lucas, so I did not do this in my head. The average age of the 8 quarterbacks who are still playing is 25 years old.
That's in the playoffs still today.
That's in the playoffs right now. And Dak is by far the oldest guy. He's 29. The second oldest guy is Mahomes, who is a certified wizard. So I don't care what his age is, 27. Then you get into 23s and 24s and 25s. And for the
Joe Burrow, how could I forget him?
Joey B. And what's he, 24? Is he 24 or 25? Joe Burrow, he's one of those two. He's 24 or 25.
He is either as old or older than Lamar. I know that.
Because he transferred and
Yeah, he had a long road in his collegiate career. Joe Burrow, he's 26. He turned 26 in December.
Oh, okay. Well, he just got me there. So recent 26 as of December the 10th.
And I'm just using Trey Lance as an example because he's kind of connected to the 49ers. There could be other players out there or maybe even some in free agency that he thinks is better in the scheme and system that they run here with the Titans. This out there and maybe a free agent. He may think Garoppolo is good enough. I don't know what he may think. And don't have to give up anything. You're going to have to give up some cash. How far do you go with that? And then you say, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well just stick with Tannehill. They're really kind of in the same bucket. He's just younger. So you do get an advantage there. and you can carry that over. Now he's mobile, but he's not real mobile, so you got to make sure you get the offensive line fixed immediately. So there's a lot of different directions to go, but I bet they err on the side of conservative, and that would be kick the can down the road, Tannehill one more year, and see where you're at. And that makes me nervous. It's good for the meantime,
but not in between time.
That means not 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
All right. Phone lines getting loaded up. 615-737-1045 on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Hold. We won't say anything when we come back except hello to you. You want to weigh in on this. That's next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Appreciate everybody loading up on the lines here. We're just talking some quarterback scenarios. There's no reason to lose your mind or anything. We're just.
But what would you do if you were the GM? That's
That's
really where we're going because we have no idea what they're going to do.
We're not GMs.
And we're not GMs.
We are not. Steve in Nashville, maybe he could be a GM, and he'll be up first. He was the first caller. Steve, thanks for calling.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I could spend 20 minutes with you guys and be great in studio looking at this thing. So you either get Broderick Jones from Georgia, Paris Johnson from Ohio State, or Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. You fill your tackle slot.
Right.
The two guards, I may pay Nate Davis, I may not, but surely of the 8 guys you have in the locker room, 2 can play guard. By the way, I'm cutting a boatload of people. I won't even go into that because I can spend 3 minutes with you on that. But I'm going to keep Luan as the backup tackle. Very wise there. Now, as far as quarterbacks go, I love Ryan Tannehill, but I think he's reached his ceiling. And if people remember, and nobody remembers this, he was actually a wide receiver at A&M.
Yeah, I say it all the time.
All right, he's reached his ceiling. I think he really has. Now, who do you go after? And if you're talking late rounds, and by the way, I'm a huge Alabama fan always, but I'm telling you who I'd get in the later rounds who I thought, you're going to laugh, Stetson Bennett. I fill the gap with Josh Dobbs. I think he's smart enough to do it. I've saved about $50 million. I'm fixing everything except if Bennett's the right guy, then I've got everything in place, and I draft receivers. I draft a corner, a shutdown corner, and then I literally go, hey, Jeff, we can restructure this, but I'm probably one of the few who say this. I'm not paying the guy $25 million a year as a defensive tackle. I'm going out, I'm getting wide receivers. I'm cutting everybody wide receiver in that room except for Treylon Burks. You're going to laugh at me, but...
No, I have no issue with anything you said so far. Only thing I would do is I like this Stetson Bennett late-round pick, but I would also hire Todd Monken as the OC. And by the way, they're saying he's going to be the OC of Tampa Bay. I just saw that today. Yeah,
Well,
so
somebody else must officially...
Yeah, somebody else must have thought the same thing I thought. He's getting an interview. I don't know if, I like me some Stetson Bennett. I put him on the Brock Purdy, the guy, the overachiever. He's too small. He can't do this and that. All he does is win 2 back-to-back national titles.
I would have to have an OG guy, though. I mean, Stetson's an exciting guy to me, but I would have to be like, okay, he's in the mix, but I need. And I know you've said the same thing before too. Like, let's not get crazy, but there's a lot to like about him, and all he does is win, no matter what. Let's get George in Mount Juliet next. George, thank you for calling Blaine and Mickey.
Okay, so this is the way I got it going. Is I think Tannehill is serviceable, and I think he can get you where you really need to go. Because I mean, if Trent Dilfer can win a Super Bowl, it really doesn't take that much of a quarterback. So, and if you look at last year when we didn't have any better offensive line and Henry was out, we won games. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tannehill set the franchise record for yardage last year for our franchise. So this is the way I would go with that. You can either look at people that are out there that nobody wants, that aren't on a roster, and the ones that you can afford, and you can try to do that, or you can try to build through the draft or something in between. But we've only got 6 draft picks. So I'm looking for as many draft picks as I can get. So I come up with this idea. I approach Chicago, and I offer them Derrick Henry, and we'll swap first-round picks. So they go to 11, we go to number 1, plus they give us a 3 and a 5-round pick.
Oh, George, I'm going to put you on to George. And I hope you find a unicorn that poops golden eggs, too.
That was the only, George. They're not going to give us that for just Henry. Henry may, if you put Henry out there, he may fetch a 4th-round pick, maybe. And it just shows you how running backs just don't have value. And we're talking about one, if not the best running back in the NFL. It's not the age of the 80s and 90s. It just, for whatever reason, and he's getting close to 30 too, by the way. And that's kind of when, and he could be the unicorn, but yeah, they're still not going to get a lot
Yeah, this isn't fantasy football where everybody will just make any trade that you want to. You got to live in, as my friend Chip says, reality USA.
And on the Dilfer tip, this is different. That was during my era. They had a phenomenal defense, and all he had to do was just manage the clock and don't turn the ball over. So the Titans defense is not that. We saw that they were 2 versus the 1, 31st against the pass. That is not a phenomenal defense. As I mentioned, going into the season, people were like, oh, they're going to be one of the, I was like, no, they're not going to be. We were number 1 in defense, and they don't look like us. They just don't look like, they D-line does, but the rest of no. So they don't have that kind of defense. They can dominate. And by the way, defense, all you have to do is get after the quarterback. You don't have to have an elite, shut down defense, because it's hard to do with all the passing in the league now. Totally different than my era when there was, passing on average probably 20 times a game. So it's a little different time. I don't think you can really shut down these high potent offense. You can contain them, but you can't shut them down.
Right. How many games did everybody just about this weekend besides the Bucks and whoever scored 24 or more points? The Titans couldn't score 24 points. They averaged 15 down the stretch for the last 7.
Good examples of Kansas City Chiefs and what they did with the zone that the Titans did with Malik Willis only throwing the ball 15 times.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
and they did hold them to 20 in overtime in that one. Mm-hmm. But you just can't sustain that. Downtown and calling from Nashville next. Hello, Downtown.
That's a bit. Come on, man.
Downtown.
It's Charlie Brown.
Okay, we'll try. Oh, he's gone. Let's try Chuck to finish up with. Chuck. Hopefully we'll have some luck with Chuck. Hey, Chuck. Chuck, you there?
No, they must be at work. The boss walked up to him.
Chuck, going once.
Chuck Diesel.
Chuck D.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
Robert hung him up.
No, he's still there. Okay, he's gone now. The red line came on.
Yeah, some great conversations, though. And really, this encompasses how hard it is to be a GM, to make these kind of decisions and be right most of the time, because you're not
all the time, not possible.
Always be right. It's impossible. Even some of the greatest, Ozzie Newsome and some of the GMs over the years, where you could talk about Belichick. Belichick has definitely had his misses, especially at picking wide receivers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So over the past 3 or 4 years in the first round. So it's a tough task. You can make all these different moves. Everybody had great suggestions, but man, I just don't know. Where do you start? Do you start with the cap first and then say, okay, this is where we're at. Now this is what we're going to do with our quarterback situation? Because to me, that's the number one thing. It really is after the cap, And you can go many directions, but that's not the long-term plan. It's just not. Tannehill's not the long-term answer.
Fun to talk about. That was fun to play, GM.
It was.
Oh, man.
It shows me that I am not a GM.
Yeah, me neither.
I was, though.
We'll take our spreadsheets and draft boards. We'll pack them up for today. 3HL coming up next. Emmett says, great show, Blaine and Mickey. Peace. That's what we say to you, right?
But in the meantime.
In between time, you know it.
Peace.